It is time to start seeds for February. Quick trip out to the greenhouse. I already brought one of those inside because I'm gonna need it. You guys know this. Even though we've decided not to do the plant nursery like we were going to do because life changed, you know? And I think it's better in this season of life to do less better than to do more and do a poor job. So I am out here because it is time to start peppers and I need some trays. This is all the trays. I have a lot. I said I wasn't gonna start as many plants, and I'm not. I don't think. My plan is just to plant what I need plus obviously some extra, and then, you know, there's always going to be more than that because you plan for loss, but we'll probably still have some like serious extras just because I just can't help myself, you guys. I gotta find, this is not very organized. We did so much last year. I can't believe it. I need the trays that don't have holes in the bottom is what I'm looking for. These are the 10-20 trays, and I put the 72 plug cells inside of them so I can bottom water. So I just have to find one more of those. I think that's enough for right now. It's really early in the season, to be honest. All the things that we have to start. And if I do too many now, I will run out of room in my house. So the great news is that I invested in all those like trays and racks and pots and lights and all of that. So we're going to be set up pretty good this year, but I've kind of decided we're going to try to grow as much food as possible and forage for as much food as possible this year. Because why not? I love starting seeds. I love this time of year when it's time to start planting things and I can have green things growing in my house because I am so tired of winter. Are you guys tired of winter? The fresh snow is pretty much done for the year, and it snows and then it melts, and sometimes it's just muddy and kind of gross outside. So it makes me really happy to have all of the beautiful green things growing in the house. So let's jump into the seeds that you should be starting if you are in a zone 4 or 5. I don't really love the whole growing zones. I'm much more a fan of frost dates and figuring that out. So my last frost date is technically June 1st. I say that with the warning that if you are in my area, hold that very loosely. June 1st with the potential of any time in June, sometimes in July, sometimes in August. Sometimes we never stop getting a frost. So, just keep that in mind. So when I start seeds, I don't have an exact date to start them on. I have like a rough time frame. So any time in February, if your frost date is June 1st, or even the last 2 weeks of May, you can follow this planting schedule. Now, I'm going to show you what I already started in January, and I'm going to tell you the things that I'm going to be adding to this list and sowing a second batch of here this coming week. So we have some fun things growing. I have some goji berries right here. These are red ones, and then these are black ones. I kind of fried the black ones just a little bit. So I might try to start these guys over again, but I do have a few growing. So I might just like stick with what I have and call it good. And then we have the red gojis here. These ones can be honestly started at any point. They're going to be, they're going to be babied for their first year. So this is not, this was just for fun for me. And then I have a whole bunch of leeks in this row. and a whole bunch of different types of onions in these sections. And I also have a few sections of onion seed that was old, and they were supposed to be spring onions. They didn't really grow at all, so I'm going to be reseeding those. And then in here, these are 2 different kinds of pansies. Now, I have learned that if you want pansies, because we eat them on salads, if you want them to bloom in the spring and not die because they don't like heat, you've got to start them really early. So that's what we've done in here. The onions, I had said in a previous video that it takes an entire year. I was mistaken. It doesn't take a whole year to grow onions. That's if you're growing them for seed. It takes a whole year. So I have never even been successful. Like, this is the best success of starting onions I've ever had. And I'll tell you that the game changer for starting these was actually not watering on the top, but watering, it's called bottom watering. And that has made a huge difference. So I will continue doing that. My plan is to actually grow the same amount again, because guys, I have heard enough people speaking about this year that I don't like to do things out of fear, but I also don't want to not be able to get what I want from the grocery store. So I'm going to try to grow more food than I've ever grown before this year. And that means planting more stuff. And why not? Because we have the seeds. So that's what we're going to do. So leeks, onions, shallots, anything like that, pansies, start those now. If you didn't start them in January, that's okay. You didn't miss the window. Go ahead and get them going anytime in February. Tray number 2, I have nothing planted in this row. I didn't even have anything planted. This is rosemary, and I went ahead and started that. It is an annual in my climate, or it could be a house plant. It likes the greenhouse, so I thought I would do more than I need and be able to share with friends or just have it as extra. I grew pink dandelions. Yes, that is right. I started dandelions from seed on purpose because I love them. Dandelions, if you guys don't know, serve lots of different functions. They serve a purpose in the permaculture world by they have a nice deep taproot, can bring up nutrients. And the flower is edible, the greens are edible, and it's a great liver cleanser. So, you know, I love dandelions. Plus, who doesn't want pink dandelions growing in their garden? And then this one I was not expecting this. Okay, this is a different type of chamomile. This is actually I didn't write it down. It's a different type of chamomile than your normal Roman or German kind. I think it's Polish. And I have tried many times to start the other ones by seed, and for whatever reason, they never even germinate. I think every seed I planted in here germinated. So we're going to have plenty of chamomile. Normally, you don't have to plant this for like 2 more months, but I just thought I'm going to get it going because I want to make sure I have lots of chamomile. I picked this variety because it said the seeds start easier and that it produces a heavier crop than your typical Roman or German chamomile. So that's what I did. So far, I'm pretty impressed with it. I got those seeds from Baker Creek. I'll leave a link down in the description box. It's not an affiliate. I just really love their company. And then we also started some petunias in here and poppies. Now, normally you direct sow poppies, but in my growing zone, that's really tricky. So I will be transplanting these out very soon because you don't want to disturb the roots on poppies. So that's what these guys are. These are an edible seeded poppy, also from Baker Creek, because why not? They're beautiful and really fun, and you can eat the seeds. And then we also have some more petunias, different variety. Those are for hanging baskets, and truly, if you want to grow your own hanging basket flowers, you've got to get on it and get them planted. You still have time, especially if you're in a warmer climate than I am, to get those going. But personally, I like to get them done and started in January. So I probably won't be planting any more of those, but you know, there we are. And then I also planted celery and celeriac. And if you're not familiar with celeriac, it's actually like a root, and you eat the root. You can also eat the stems. Totally fun. But I think I'm actually going to grow even more. I was not planning on that. I was planning on just being happy with what I had. And then I thought, you know what? Excuse me. If we're going to be out in the garden anyway, and we're going to be doing all of the garden work anyway, we should be growing as much as possible. So I probably will plant more celeriac because it stores better than celery in my climate. But we'll be doing both. We eat a lot of celery in our house. So those are the seeds that you can plant right now, that if you miss them in January, don't worry about it. Go ahead and get them going in February, anytime, between anytime now and the end of February, and you're all good. Now, there's one more thing that you can start, and I think I have one here. I've managed to kill most of them. This little guy right there is an eggplant. Now I prefer to get these going in January, but that's okay. I've got one. I really don't need that many eggplant. We don't eat that much in our household. Maybe you like to eat more than that. Great, plant more. February is the month that I like to plant my peppers and my eggplant. So I am going to be doing an entire flat, maybe more, of peppers, hot peppers, and mostly just like fresh eating peppers, like Anaheims and things like that, because they freeze really well. And it's going to be my goal this year to not actually buy in any of our peppers for our house. I think I can manage that. The peppers, I don't actually plant them outside. I plant them in the greenhouse. I don't even know why I call it a greenhouse. At this point, I should really just call it the pepper house, because that's all that's in there. So this year, I am planting peppers that I like to eat, as well as I plant some for some friends, because that makes a good trade for me, and they don't grow them themselves. So it's really fun to be able to have them over, make the pickled peppers as gifts for them. And I like to plan all those things right now so that I have them for Christmas time coming up, which sounds like a very long time and a lot of planning, but it just takes a little bit of extra thought. And I haven't met anybody yet who has not liked getting homegrown, home canned food for Christmas time. If you have not ordered your seeds yet, it's not too late. I will leave my link down for 10% off of any Heirlooms Evermore seed order down in the description box. I really love some of the varieties that they have, that they offer. They are hand selected for cold climates. They do grow well in any climate, but they are really great for cold climate growing. So just to recap, peppers and eggplant, go ahead and start those at any point in February. You can continue to plant them into March. I just like to get a head start on them, and I have found that the pepper plants actually produce more if I start them now. I also like to use a heat mat to grow those on. Celery and onions, leek, celeriac, and any of your long-growing herbs and flowers, especially cutting flowers, go ahead and get those going. If you did not do those in January, get them done in February. That's what we're going to be planting for February. Please let me know down in the comments if you guys are planting things now. What are you planting and what is your growing zone? I would love to hear that. One thing I will say, especially to you new gardeners out there, is first of all, seed starting really isn't that hard. It helps to have a few things like a heat mat and grow lights. You don't have to. You could just use a window and a windowsill if you wanted to, but honestly, the grow lights, which can be as simple as a fluorescent light, like a shop light, really does make a huge difference. A heat mat is totally not necessary. The only thing I will say is I do love a heat mat to germinate pepper seeds quickly. Now, the other thing is I'm going to tell you about these plug trays here. Pardon my giant counter of dishes. Our dishwasher broke. This is a new one that's not installed yet. Anyway, these plug trays. So these are 72 plug trays. They're used a lot in commercial growing and whatnot. I love soil blocking. However, when I'm doing this in my house for January and February, I prefer not to do soil blocking. It is very messy and it takes up a lot more space. For right now, because I'm using my house, these 72 plug cells, actually you can plant a ton in them and then just pluck them out and transplant them later to bigger pots. And I think it really boils down to preference and what you want. Now, I am trying to eliminate plastic in my life one step at a time. And it might seem crazy to have these plastic trays. However, they were gifted to me. I didn't buy them. The only thing I bought was the 10-20 trays. So I would rather reuse them until they eventually disintegrate than to purchase anything new or to make new things, you know, even with lumber and whatnot. This just happens to work for me. The downsides to planting with tiny things on a heat mat with a hot fluorescent light is the 72 plug trays dry out crazy fast. Like, you have to keep those suckers watered. So my trick before the seeds germinate is to cover them with saran wrap. That works really, really well to hold the moisture. It creates like a little greenhouse effect. And I just keep it on there until the first things start germinating. Then I go ahead and pull that off. And I do like to bottom water, which is one of the reasons I have those bottom trays. It just makes life a lot easier. But you've got to keep a close eye on them. I would not want to use a heat mat anywhere that I wasn't gonna walk by 100 times a day because personally I would fry my baby plants, and you already saw it. I showed you just a little bit ago. I already did that, and I didn't even have those seeds on a heat mat. It was just from the light. So keep that in mind if you're starting things this early in your house in a cold climate. These little babies are gonna be in with us for months on end. So just remember that when you're starting all your seeds. Don't forget to learn and grow, and I'll see you in the next one.